Hi there, Carl Massey here, coach, strategist, and the author of The Successful Mind. Elevate your success by reprogramming your subconscious mind to your heart's desire. And I'm very excited to be able to read this book for you. I'm very excited to have you joining me. This is one of my favorite subjects. So without further ado, let's dive straight in and head over to the introduction. Chapter 1. Introduction. Before you as a foundational pillar of knowledge, experience and wisdom, I've come to understand and constantly apply to support myself and my coaching clients in creating the greatest possible life experience. My greatest desire is to help you create a joyful, rich living experience that provides you with all the wonderful relationships and achievements that define a vibrant life. When you come to truly understand what I'm about to share with you over the next few hours and step into the direction that is right for you, your life will take on a whole new meaning and your journey into joy, health, vitality, success, and abundance will be underway in earnest. I'm excited to be able to share with you what I've joyfully and also painstakingly learned over the last 20 years. I also aim to fast track your journey of coming to learn and understand this knowledge because I know it to be a necessary and powerful stepping stone on the path to evolution. The stepping stones and path I've discovered that lead to a better life look something like the formula that I'm going to explain to you shortly. It's a diagram that's in the book, and if you wish to, you can go to my website and clicking on the link carlmassey.com/beliefs, you'll be able to see all of the diagrams that are in this book. So essentially there's 9 boxes, 3 boxes at the top, 3 boxes at the middle, 3 boxes at the bottom. And if I'm going left to right, the first row says knowledge plus experience equals wisdom. The second row from left to right says wisdom plus conscious awareness equals better choices. The third row says better choices plus action equal better life. For many years, I used to believe having wisdom in inverted commas guaranteed we would make better choices. But when I decided to dig deeper, I realized there was more to the story. There have been situations in my past when, though I was well equipped with knowledge and experience, that is wisdom, I still made poor choices. These experiences sparked a quest to understand the right ingredients to better choices and consequently getting better results. I realized there were 2 specific elements I had to work on. The first element was enhancing my ability to be consciously aware in the present moment. Doing this would allow me to step back and access my reserves of combined knowledge and past experience, i.e. wisdom, to make the best choice based on the reality in front of me. The more present we are, the more perspective we have. The more we're in an elevated state of awareness, the more discerning, deliberate, intentional, intelligent, and powerful our decisions are likely to be. We make choices based on what we know, what we have experienced, and the nature of the unique situation at hand. We don't just regurgitate the old way of doing things. We are aware of where it came from, where we are, and where we most desire to go. This is a really powerful combination. The second element was coming to truly understand and appreciate the influence and power of all the subconscious beliefs and thoughts at play whenever I'm not 100% conscious in the present moment. It turns out, according to research by neuroscientists, that we're only fully consciously aware of our thoughts, feelings, and behaviour about 5% of the time. The remainder of the time, in fact most of our lives, we are running on subconscious programs that have been learned and we've bought into over the course of our lives. Now, this is great if the subconscious programs we're applying are relevant, current, and life-enhancing, but the reality is that a whole bunch of the programs influencing us, in a word, suck. And not just a little bit, they suck big time. Ouch. Let's have a quick look behind the curtains. Some of our subconscious programs cause us to throw tantrums like a 4-year-old who has had their lollipop taken from them. Others might cause us to completely freeze in front of a group of people, even when we know exactly what we want to present to them. Then there are beliefs that influence us to step back in fear when everything we need to succeed is already within us. There are internal programs that cause us to sabotage our relationships with the people we most desire to be within our life. Can you relate to any of these experiences? How would you like to gain the knowledge and strategies that allow you to move beyond these self-imposed limitations? Then I wholeheartedly encourage you to invest in yourself and your destiny by looking deeply into the information and insights I'll be sharing with you in this small book. By doing so, you'll be taking steps towards better choices and a more empowered life. Action is the path to your evolution. Get ready to take a journey to an even more amazing life. I'm extremely grateful. Get ready to take a journey to an even more amazing life. I'm extremely grateful to have this opportunity to provide useful tools and information to support you in the process. I love to witness people uncover what has been holding them back or draining them of their precious energy, clarity, and drive. It's an absolute joy to see people wake up to their greatness. My intention in writing this book is not only to provide you with knowledge, but also to stir your emotions in a way that will stimulate you into action. I'll then share with you the steps I recommend you take in order to get the very most out of these insights. My aim is to support you to become an active explorer and take back the controls of the life I know you have the potential to experience. Just like everyone else on the planet, you are unique. You are truly special. And when you tap into that unique greatness, that personal and incomparable expression of yourself, free from the layers of external influences you've accumulated along the way, you will truly make a difference in your own life and the lives of others. I want to inspire you to be the skipper of your boat, to have a better understanding of where the coral reefs might be, how to navigate around them, but also how to deal with the situation when you accidentally hit a reef. Because no matter how good we think our ship is, if we go through life thinking we are the indestructible Titanic, we too might be unprepared for life's inevitable challenges. Life is about challenges, but those challenges aren't designed to break us. Those challenges are there to make us grow and evolve into the people that we were destined to become. Just like the muscles in our body, they become stronger and bigger when a heavy enough resistance is applied against them. We need challenges in life in order to grow. But always know that life is for us and not against us. It does not serve anything or anyone for you to be anything less than your absolute radiant best. So hang on to your coattails because you'll very soon step up to a whole new level. This book contains insights and concepts that I've learned over the last 20 years, but I promise to deliver them in a direct and practical way, which is a whole lot more fun than reading through 600 boring pages of introduction to modern psychology. I've also made countless mistakes over the last several decades, so you'll also get the benefit of those lessons without the bloody noses, slaps in the face, believe me, we could all do with far few of them, or the surgical operations to repair broken joints. Now, my lesson here was profound and simple. Slow down or stop before you lose control. So let's dive right into one of the central themes we're exploring in this book. It is absolutely fundamental to understanding why your life is the way it is, and it's the first subject for me when coaching a new client. It has even for many people created a major paradigm shift. To some, it might seem like the chicken and the egg came out in the wrong order. If it seems a little bit odd, just humour me for a little while. Challenge yourself to think outside of the box, even to challenge your own beliefs. In fact, get rid of the old box altogether. This simple model suggests that our beliefs lead us to feel a certain way, which causes us to behave in a particular way. And it's because of our unique behaviour, that is, the actions we take, that we get certain results. The model directly challenges the idea that our external experiences determine the overall quality of our lives. What I'm about to share with you is going to open the door to the possibility that we have a lot more control over external events, known as life experiences, than we may have imagined possible. Instead of trying to change external elements in your life, people, places, situations, economies, governments, bosses, businesses, which takes an incredible amount of effort and may even be impossible, we shift our intention to changing from the inside out. When we do this, something magical happens. Things shift around us. We see things in a different way, and therefore we get to experience life and everything in it in a new and different way. That is the power of working from the inside out. If you want to experience a whole new life, that is new results, new relationships, new adventures, new abundance, then let me offer you some of the building blocks, known also as beliefs, which will lay the foundation for the amazing journey ahead of you. You are, in your current state, a mass of pure potential. To date, I've never had a client or a seminar participant who claims to be using 100% of their potential. So I know with absolute certainty that you have a well of power within you that is just waiting for the right stimulation and direction to take your life to a whole new elevated level. Are you ready to shake up the foundations and change the course of your life forever? What are we waiting for? Chapter 2, Laying the Foundation. So what is a belief? The Oxford Dictionary online tells us a belief is an acceptance that something exists or is true, especially one without proof. I don't know about you, but that definition gives me the distinct impression that beliefs are sort of like Play-Doh in our hands, especially the words without proof. And acceptance from who? Us, society, the president, prime minister or queen, mum and dad, friends? After reading that definition, do you, like me, get the distinct impression that these beliefs may not be laws of nature or laws that govern the universe or even physical facts? They're certainly not something that apply in 100% of cases 100% of the time. And if you're thinking, so when do they apply? Let me assure you that we'll be getting to that shortly. Here are a number of belief statements that someone may unconsciously or consciously accept as true but cannot be proven or consistently replicated with the same results in a laboratory test environment. It is hard to make money these days. It is easy to make money these days. Relationships are a lot of hard work. Relationships are a lot of fun. Health is totally dependent on external influences. Health is totally dependent on internal influences. Something that cannot be replicated is definitely not a fact. You're starting to get a sense already of which directions your beliefs might be taking you. Now let's add to that list some of the most common and more invasive beliefs from the clients I've worked with over the last decade, who are just like you and me. Here's the examples. I don't deserve to take up space. I'm not good enough. I'm a bad person. I'll never be successful because ... Add your own ending to that. I'm not smart enough. I expect you already know a little bit about beliefs and how we all have different ones. And I'm sure that you know, like I've shown here, that different people can hold beliefs that are complete opposites, yet each believes them down to the tips of their toes and will fight to protect their own belief or view of reality. And furthermore, I'm sure you realise that anything within or related to the second list of beliefs is very unlikely to make us feel good, inspired, open, connected, or any of the other things that enable us to be the fullest expression of ourselves. The vast majority of the statements we make, live by, or base our decisions on fall under the category of a belief. In fact, anything that is not a universal law, like the law of gravity, for example, by definition is a belief. The law of gravity essentially says that if we're heavier than air, we're going down, regardless of our size, shape, colour, sexual persuasion, IQ, EQ, shoe size, amount of money in the bank, Facebook followers, or age. The law works exactly the same for everyone. By definition, because a belief is not a universal law, it's not get the same results for the same people every time. As you're probably aware, it's not the universal laws or physics which determine the results our beliefs deliver. Rather, it's you and me that hold that power. We shape and create our destiny moment by moment based on the beliefs we carry and have chosen to subscribe to. If your head is starting to spin at this point, then rest assured this is a good thing. Neuroscience tells us that in order to construct a new thought, which leads to a corresponding new action and ultimately a new result, we often need to deconstruct an old thought or limiting pattern that has been playing out in our minds. Therefore, if at any time while reading this book you feel some confusion coming on, know that it's a good thing. From confusion, something new and often better is created. You're in the process of creating the new super you. You are evolving. The relationship between beliefs and results. The reason that beliefs are so important for us to understand is because they are directly responsible for the results we get in life. Our beliefs determine how we will act in any given situation, and the way we act has a huge impact on the outcomes or results we create. And I show that in a diagram showing that beliefs influence our feelings and emotions, which drives behaviours, which creates results. This simple diagram may only be 4 little boxes with 3 arrows, but it can represent an enormous difference in your daily life experience. If you spend your energy trying to change your external experience, you'll end up in a tug-of-war with Mother Nature, God, life, Allah, the source, the universe, whichever term you prefer. Good luck with that. Regardless of how Herculean you believe your strength to be, I'm willing to bet my trusty Honda scooter that your tug-of-war might end up with you coming in second and standing despondent in a large puddle of tears. However, if we reverse engineer this process and start our work at the other end of the diagram, at our beliefs, we suddenly have the ability to change something that we own, something we can control, and actually change once we know how. We are definitely more in control of our beliefs than we are the forces of nature or God. At this point, you may be a little confused as to where this is going, or may even be thinking, just tell me how to change these limiting beliefs of mine and make my life completely different. You might desire to be healthy, wealthy, wise, and in an amazing relationship as you make a huge positive difference in the world. Trust me, we're going to get there. But before you can unlearn or disassociate the beliefs you've picked up and played out over the years, or even decades of repetition, you need to understand how they originated. It is by understanding the what, why, and how they were formed that you'll come to understand and then believe that just as they were formed, so too can they be unformed. But that is not all. I not only want to help you remove limiting beliefs, I want to help you replace them with the right rocket fuel. Now we're talking. The impact of beliefs. The content that will follow in the rest of this book represents the basis, cornerstone, building blocks, key driving force and foundation of who and what you are. It is the stuff that determines the results you get in life. It'll explain what you have achieved as well as how and to what degree your achievements have been stunted, whether you're rich and famous or about to be evicted from your one-bedroom apartment. Your beliefs determine the world you live in and the place that you occupy within that world. I'm sure you're starting to get the picture. Beliefs are important. Have I already said that they're the foundation? Forgive me, I'm repeating myself, but I really want you to realise that what you're about to be made aware of is something that will change your life forever. I'm not generally a serious guy, but this is serious stuff. There are also several diagrams and scenarios that will make it easier for you to understand the concepts that in the past you may have left to the psychiatrists and psychologists. Very soon you'll be able to mix it up with the best of them. Maybe even start getting inside their heads. The creation and the impact of beliefs is always the first thing I discuss with new coaching clients, because beliefs are where your life's results are engineered. And why did I use the word forever just recently? Because once you're made aware of something, it's extremely hard to stick your head back in the sand. Once you realise that something is really bad for you, it makes it much harder to keep doing that same disempowering thing to yourself. Awareness is the first stage of all change and growth. It is the origin of all personal development. So make yourself comfortable and get ready to have your "but I didn't think it had that much of an impact" blinkers removed once and for all. I promise to be gentle. Warning, be aware that once the blinkers come off, they are very hard to get back on. If you continue reading or listening to my voice, your awareness will definitely be enhanced. You have been warned. As Neo in the movie The Matrix was advised by Morpheus, you take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth. For those that have not seen this classic movie, just do a YouTube search on blue pill or red pill, The Matrix, and you'll get to see this fantastic piece of art. Beliefs in your physical, mental, and emotional health. Studying and understanding health and vitality has been a fascination of mine for the last 20 years. I started at a very physical level by training to be a personal trainer, and have advanced over the years through alternative health, neuro-linguistics programming, NLP training, hypnotherapy, yoga, meditation, breathing and mindfulness techniques, to a level that delves more into things like neuroscience, quantum physics and epigenetics. My book called The Guidebook to Optimum Health goes a lot deeper into the aspects and elements that lead to optimizing health. What I've come to realise by following the research of neuroscientists like Joe Dispenza and Candace Pert, Eastern and Western trained doctors like Deepak Chopra, and biologists like Bruce Lipton, is our beliefs also have a very real effect on us at a cellular level, and therefore directly impact our health and vitality. The beliefs we have cause us to feel certain emotions, and in the case of, in inverted commas, negative emotions, like fear and anxiety, the stress response is activated, and along with it are the associated physiological effects, like increased adrenaline and cortisol, reduced immune system and digestive system functionality, increased blood flow to the muscles, dilation of the pupils, etc. The emotional responses we experience also trigger the expression of different genes. Different genes are turned on, upregulated, or turned off, deregulated, as a consequence of different emotions. The new science of epigenetics makes it clear that the way we think, feel, and act has an impact on our genetic expression. In a very general sense, this means that our thoughts and therefore our beliefs can have a direct impact on our health. Beliefs that empower you turn on brain chemistry like serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, which elevate your health and psychological well-being. Beliefs that disempower you are likely to activate a stress response, which, if activated often, could create excessive adrenaline and cortisol in your system. This will lead to disruption of the health of the cells and the activation or deactivation of genes that disrupt your health and vitality. My main point in all of this is that your belief system most definitely affects your health, for better or worse. You're doing important work with every page you read, and every positive, actionable step you take to cleaning up and cleaning out the beliefs that no longer serve you, which might even be causing you to experience physical symptoms and illness. Chapter 3. the formation of our beliefs. We're all born into this world as beautiful vessels, ready to be moulded into even greater human beings. But here's where life gets interesting. It turns out that a number of beliefs and behaviours were already imprinted by the time you were born as a result of sharing the same internal environment as your mother for 9 months and the DNA of your father and mother and everyone up through the family tree. It's suggested that up to 40% of our beliefs and behaviours have already started to form before the time we're actually born. Without being too technical, our brains have grown and are structured to more easily incorporate the beliefs and behaviours of our parents and their genetic lineage. We are all influenced by the experiences that our mothers had during their pregnancy with us, as for 9 months we shared the same chemistry and physiological body. If they felt fear, worry or insecurity, then their bodies would have released neuropeptides, neurotransmitters and hormones into their bloodstream and therefore ultimately into ours. Their emotional experiences literally became a part of us. We share the chemicals and hormones of their joy, excitement, happiness and love. Understanding this may explain why some beliefs and interrelated feelings might not be the things you can remember or relate to from your own remembered history. However, I want to make a point very clear to you right now. Whatever can be formed can also be unformed. Less so with our external physical body, but definitely with the internal structure of our brains and their cellular expressions. One thing that the field of epigenetics is establishing is the expression of our DNA is not fixed and can be influenced by our environment, internal and external, and our lifestyle choices. Furthermore, prominent neuroscientist Dr. Joe Dispenza suggests that only about 1.5% of our DNA is actually expressed. So before you close the book and start telling or continue to tell the very limiting story, oh well, I can't do anything about the way I am, I'm here to tell you that that is simply not true. Neuroscientists use the term neuroplasticity, which is a fancy way of saying that our brains are like putty and can be remoulded and remodeled regardless of our age. If we have the right tools, strategies and motivation, we can actually rewire our brains. The next part of the story on beliefs and how they are formed occurs from birth until we're about 7 years of age. During this period of time, our brains are still in a major growth stage and in a progressive range of brainwave states, from a delta brainwave state at birth to theta and then alpha. What is so interesting about these brainwave states is that they are the same brainwave states a person under hypnosis experiences, most commonly alpha and theta. In alpha and theta brainwave states, the conscious mind does not critically evaluate incoming information to decide what is good or bad for future use or how best to apply the information provided. The brain acts like a one-way and very effective sponge. This is an evolutionary process that allows the brain to take in as much information as possible during a time when you are learning to individually navigate your way through life and become independent from your parents' protection. In simple terms, when the brain is in an alpha or theta state, it absorbs and stores everything that is said or observed without any judgment, discernment or assessment. It processes the statements people make as literal facts. The statements do not need to make logical sense or be rooted in any truth or fact. If a child less than 7 years of age is told, "You'll never amount to anything when you grow up," by someone they are dependent on or have rapport with, they are likely to buy into this statement as truth, especially if the statement is repeated a number of times and is delivered in an emotionally charged or unsafe environment. The truth is, a person making a statement like this has no clue what will happen in 30 years' time. Such a statement is nonsensical, as well as cruel and disempowering. Unfortunately for us, while the evolving brain is doing its evolutionary thing of sponging up and sucking in information, it also absorbs a whole bunch of ridiculous and toxic rubbish at the same time. Damn it! My other working theory on why we pick up a lot of stuff that we don't need or that leads us to take some poor directions in life is that we do it to keep life interesting so we have something to occupy ourselves with for the next 50 plus years. Being perfect would be so boring for all of us. How's that for a great theory? It was Ralph Waldo Emerson that said, all life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better. The more significant a person is in your life as you're growing up, such as those who are your main providers of love, protection, acceptance, food, water and shelter, such as your parents, other primary carers or relatives, the more you want to believe what they believe. If you believe what they believe, you build rapport, strengthen your relationship, and become more closely connected with them, which also means they will be a whole lot nicer to you. In the very beginning, part of your survival safety mechanism meant that you tended to believe everything that the people closest to you told you, and you behaved in a way that mirrored their behaviours. This scenario would be totally cool if your parents and other significant people in your life were fully positive, self-aware, optimistic, wise, unconditionally loving, saw life through your eyes, were aware of your internal special talents and gift to the world, self-actualized and not dealing with their own shitty beliefs that they are handed. In other words, the perfect human beings. These people might exist in storybooks, but unfortunately do not work the same planet I live on. There's also a good chance the people that were providing your parents or significant others with their beliefs in life were not perfect either. Now, we're not here to point the finger of blame. The past is the past, but we're definitely here to see how you can improve things. It reminds me of a quote that says, what we don't fix, we pass on to the kids. We can't physically change the past, but we can certainly influence the future. So to all mothers and fathers, this is definitely not a witch hunt. We can't blame you for the mistakes we have made along the way. And as mothers and fathers, don't freak out about what you did and did not say to your own children. Providing you're creating a loving and safe place for them to start their journeys, you're doing a magnificent service for your children. For you, the information you're learning here is going to help you do an even better job of raising them to become well-adjusted, self-aware, and resilient human beings. So, in the beginning, you absorbed all of the empowering stuff and the not so empowering stuff, and it started to form your core beliefs. These in turn created your reality and personal map of the world. The beliefs that you take in over those formative years get packaged and stored in the figurative filing cabinets of your subconscious mind, the reptilian and limbic part of your brain. This is a part of your mind that operates below your conscious awareness, sort of like a built-in autopilot. This is a great mechanism, in theory, if the autopilot is taking you in the same direction you consciously desire to go. Here lies one of our major challenges, an important piece of our personal development work for the next 100 plus years that we plan to live. How we search for evidence. Now that we know how these belief seeds were planted in our heads, I want to show you the steps we then move through to turn those seeds or statements into our own set of beliefs, which we may then hold on to for the rest of our lives. Sometimes they can be to our detriment, but other times they can lead to the sound of roaring applause, loving affection, money in the bank, or smiles on everyone's faces. Below is a model of the basic process we go through in building up our belief treasure chest and reinforcing the beliefs that we picked up as children. Essentially, step one is a statement is made or behaviour demonstrated by a parent or significant person. Step two, the statement is accepted and becomes a belief. Step three, that person searches for and notices examples that prove their belief. Step four, that belief becomes a fact in inverted commas. Do you know which is the most interesting step for me in this process? The third step suggests that a belief becomes a fact when we find evidence to prove it. But this is like doing a search on the internet. You can find some information to support either side of a statement of fact. Therefore, if you go looking for examples to prove your belief statement, you are sure to find them. The internet analogy is also relevant because you choose the search words you will use. The internet responds to the search you requested. It only follows the path of your focus. If you do a search on safety issues in Peru, it will not give you information about the beauty and splendour of Machu Picchu or Colca Canyon or Lake Titicaca or the Nazca Lines. You find what you sought out. Such is the nature of our belief systems, and if the original belief statement was false, unworthy or disempowering, then you end up with a fact that does not serve you. When you were young, you never had the mental, emotional or experiential capacity to question whether the original belief statement was correct anyway. You didn't have the ability to discern. You just accepted what was told you without searching to see if the opposite could also be possible or contain any elements of truth. When an authority figure puts a belief into someone's head, like the statement that the earth is flat, that is what the person will primarily look for and notice. There were numerous highly intelligent people who could explain why the world was flat, and only a few exceptions who suggested that the world was actually round. It wasn't the fault of the masses. They just believed what they were told by those they considered to be knowledgeable or authoritative resources. If you're looking to confirm what you've been told, you are likely to walk right past all the examples that point towards the contrary, because you are fixed on finding the evidence to support your answer. Plus, there is a little thing in the subconscious part of the brain called the reticular activating system, RAS for short, that will help you notice the thing that you have planted in your mind. Since we have millions of bits of sensory information coming into the brain every second, one of the primary functions of the reticular activating system is to filter all of these pieces of information into the information that is most relevant, important, and aligned with our wants and desires. We can actually prime our reticular activating system to be hypersensitive to the things we want it to find so that it will filter out information that is not in alignment with what you want or expect to find. If I prime my brain to notice all things red, I notice red objects extremely quickly and easily, but I become less sensitized to all things that are blue. If you want to see a good example of how con artists use the art of priming your brain, just watch the movie with Will Smith called Focus. What this all means is that you'll end up seeing what you expect to see, such as the beliefs you accepted as facts along the way. If you've been told that the world is a horrible place, then you can walk right past a garden of multicoloured roses in order to stand triumphantly in front of a graffiti-covered wall and confirm that the world is indeed a horrible place. And of course, the opposite holds true if you are looking for a world of beauty. You'll find beauty everywhere you look. The bottom line is that we see what we're looking for. The formal term for this weird process, which you've all fallen victim to, is confirmation bias. What follows is a simple scenario that further highlights the point that what we believe we notice, as opposed to what we notice we believe. I used this very same scenario once late at night in Athens, Greece, while I was waiting for my ride. I started talking to two brothers, and in a short space of time I realised that they had two very different perspectives of the world around them. And as a result, one was pessimistic and the other optimistic. I used this scenario, which I'll share with you shortly, to highlight to them how it was their perspective and focus that caused them to act the way they do. I believe they left with a new heightened level of understanding, as I'm sure you will too. Let's take a look at what was revealed to them. And I call this creating our map of the world. We have on the scene Mr. Cloudy, who was raised to think like a pessimist, and Mr. Sunny, who was raised to think like an optimist. Mr. Cloudy believes the world is full of pain and suffering. On the other hand, Mr. Sunny believes the world is incredibly beautiful. They both take a short stroll down a typical city street. Picture Paris, Rome, New York, Athens, Sydney or London, whatever you like. Funnily enough, although not funny for everyone, the results are likely to be the same wherever the street is. So Mr. Cloudy and Mr. Sunny walk down the street, mentally recording everything they notice along the way, including sights, sounds and smells. This is what each of them records. Mr. Cloudy: the street pavements are cracked and there's a lot of litter in the gutters and even on the street. There are leaves filling up the gutters as well. Some of the cars are not even parked right. A lot of annoying sounds are distracting me. People kept getting in the way, plus some of them are wearing stupid clothes. The breeze blowing is just shifting all of the rubbish about. ... On the other hand, this is Mr. Sunny. It is a gorgeous day. It's so nice to be outside walking. The air's a little crisp and there's a little breeze blowing which feels like a gentle massage. Grand trees with big bright green leaves line the street, adding rich colour to the avenue. Plus it is amazing to see all the different clothes and types of people around today. The interesting mix of street sounds adds to the richness and diversity of the place. Now imagine that at the end of the stroll, Mr. Cloudy and Mr. Sunny asked the same artist to paint a picture for them to record their experience of that city street. And the artist didn't know that they walked down the very same street. Do you think the artist would have painted two completely different pictures? Do you think that the colours used for each of the paintings would have varied? Do you think that one might have bright, festive hues and the other would be composed of much darker ones? The things we notice or look for are based on our beliefs, which create the pictures in our minds. And these pictures make us feel a certain way, which can either be positive or negative. Same street, different perspective, different emotions, different life experience. I just want to add a brief note on my primary observation on the difference between a pessimist and an optimist, as it might be useful for you. Our brains are powerful, extremely powerful, but a lot of their power relates to the quality of the questions we ask. The brain will answer to the best of its knowledge the question it is asked. If the question is, what is wrong with this situation, it gives a certain list of observations. If the question is, what is great about this situation, it gives another set of very different observations. Can you see how the nature of the questions we ask ourselves in any given situation might make us feel and experience either a more optimistic or a more pessimistic outcome? Change the question and you change what is revealed to you. The salt in the cupboard scenario. Here's another interesting perspective for you. Has this or something similar ever happened to you? You're in the kitchen and looking into the pantry or a cupboard and you yell out to your very patient girlfriend, "Where is the salt?" She calmly replies, "It's in the cupboard." You respond with the decibels increasing, "It is not." She again responds, "It's on the third shelf." To which you respond as you wind yourself up even more, "It's not here." At this point, your girlfriend enters the kitchen, reaches past you, and wraps her hands around the salt shaker that is sitting in reasonably plain view right there on the third shelf. What the beep? Did you see what was in front of you, or did you see what you thought you would or would not see? Are our eyes taking in everything that exists in the world around us, or are our eyes seeing what we want to or think we ought to see, based on our beliefs and map of the world? Interesting. Chapter 4, the truth, in inverted commas, about our beliefs. We've established that many of our beliefs were planted within us when we were very young by the people we care about or depended on the most, and are now stored in the vaults of our subconscious minds. Let's see what happens next. Because of the nature of our loving or dependent relationships with these people, and because believing the same things that they did meant that we would be in harmony with them and therefore most loved by them, we can spend the rest of our lives collecting data to prove that the beliefs we have absorbed, observed and adopted are in fact 100% true. And the more data we collect, the more strongly we believe in and fuel our beliefs. It's like proving a court case. The more information we can have to support our case or argument, the more likely we are to win and prove our belief is a fact. But here is the kicker. When you're proving your belief or defending it through to your very last breath, if just one person who's made of the same substance, lives on the same planet as you, and likely has access to similar resources as you, proves that the complete opposite belief is also true, then your belief is not a universal law or even a fact. Ouch. Here is the principal message about beliefs. Our beliefs are true because we make them true, not because they're universal laws, as is the law of gravity. I've already shown you one example to highlight this, and I hope that I've planted a deep seed in your subconscious mind. A seed that says that what you believe may not be true, but merely something you picked up along your journey. Now, don't shoot the messenger just yet. This is a good thing in the end. Have you ever noticed that when your beliefs are challenged, you tend to perform the yeah, but dance? Yeah, he might have been successful making that money, but ... He is 10 years older, went to a better school, had a father that was nice to him, was lucky, is taller than me, etc., etc., etc. We feel the need to defend our beliefs. Otherwise, we might be wrong. And on a deeper psychological level, we fear that if we change our beliefs, we may no longer be loved by those people we most want to please. Alternatively, we may want to prove our beliefs are true so we don't feel like we've just wasted the last 20 years following the wrong fact sheet. Please don't tick this box. Be the bigger person, committed to evolution, and be willing to let go of that which no longer serves you. Create a new future from the courageous choices you make today. Resistance to change or to stepping into the unknown can also show up as a result of facing the sheer discomfort of detaching from a belief that has been a critical or foundational building block for you. It starts an inner dialogue to the effect of what will happen now, or who will I become? The subconscious mind and the survival-focused part of our brain is hypersensitive to the unknown. It likes very much to know exactly what is going to happen now and in the immediate future, and is not so fond of uncertainty and the unknown. So get ready for parts of you at a deeper subconscious level to get a bit freaked out at the prospect of change, even if that change is completely in your best interest. But here is something for you to consider. The person with the most flexible beliefs and the fewest rules set in place around how that belief is realised is likely to be the most resilient to the inevitable change that will take place throughout the course of their lives. They're able to adapt and reorient quickly and easily when something in their life changes. The world is constantly changing. Nature is always in a state of change. So trying to hold on to and apply a 1990s belief when we are in year 2019 might not be a productive use of your energy and focus. If you had a new computer with top-of-the-line hardware but were still using Windows 95 in 2019, people would think you're a complete dunce. Of course you're going to get suboptimal results if you use obsolete or out-of-date software and programs. The same applies to you. Don't hang on to that figure of 1995 software because it worked well for you back in 1995. Get with the program and upgrade your software. In other words, upgrade your beliefs. I also want to remind you that if you hold positive and empowering beliefs, they have the potential to make your life truly magical. Imagine holding the belief that everything always works out for the best and believing that right down to the very core of your being. Do you think you would ever be stressed out about life? Not likely. My other favourites are life is for me, not against me. Life wants me to succeed. I expect success. Even though I make mistakes, I am still worthy of love. My body is self-healing. There's no such thing as failure, only feedback. All I need is within me now. It is beliefs like these that have the most profound and expansive impact on your happiness, abundance, success, and health. Now, a little insight about your memory. It's been my experience with clients that many hang on to a belief because it relates to a story embedded in their minds of an incident that happened in their past. For instance, you might have a belief that you cannot trust even your own family because when you were younger, your father was betrayed by his own brother, your uncle, and you witnessed the pain your father experienced. You have this clear, in inverted commas, memory. So you have a hard time letting go of the belief that you have formed which says you cannot trust anyone, even your own family. But what if your memory of that event is not necessarily reflective of the actual circumstances or reality of the situation? Maybe you did not see the full picture or know your father's role in the outcome. Or maybe your brain just made up a lot of the story, filling in any gaps as you remembered it. The fact is, according to neuroscientists, unless you have a verifiable photographic memory, the way the brain captures and records memories is not 100% accurate. The way our brains record memories is something like represented in a diagram, but I'll talk you through it as best I can. The brain takes snapshots, and then when we bring the memory to recollection, our brain fills in the gaps between the snapshots with what it thinks is appropriate for the given situation and your past experiences, meaning that our brain might just be making up stuff that's not 100% true. When I learned more about how my memories are formed and recovered, I decided I would not fall on my sword over what I thought I remembered in an argument I had with my girlfriend 5 years ago. I decided that the chances of my memory being 100% accurate and worthy of having a fight over were not substantial. I take the same view with beliefs. I don't hang on to them rigidly because they're a result of a past memory or experience. I'm ready to upgrade my beliefs based on what I know now, want now, and want to experience now. Here we arrive back at the concept of evolution and letting the things that don't serve us fall away in order to upgrade to a new level of awesomeness. Chapter 5, How Beliefs Determine Our Actions. You've already seen this diagram in the introduction, but now we're going to do more prospecting so that you truly understand the impact of this collection of boxes and arrows. The diagram again represents beliefs, influences, emotions and feelings, which drives behaviours, which creates results. First, I'll offer another illustrative scenario, and then we'll come back to that framework, that diagram. In case there are any doubters out there, I want to reiterate that it is our beliefs and thinking that create our experience rather than the other way around. In a stage left, our infamous duo, Mr. Sunny and Mr. Cloudy. Thank you, gentlemen. You might not be surprised to hear that Mr. Cloudy believes you cannot trust anyone, and Mr. Sunny believes there are a lot of trustworthy people in the world. Shock, horror. I want you to imagine how each of these men would behave upon meeting a third person. Let's call her Miss Neutral, based on their beliefs, which got planted by someone else when they knew no better and literally believed everything they were told. What sort of behaviour, communicated through their words, tone, energy and body language, do you think Mr. Cloudy and Mr. Sunny would be projecting towards Miss Neutral? Would Mr. Cloudy and Mr. Sunny project themselves any differently towards Miss Neutral based on their beliefs? Would one be more closed, suspicious and tense, or the other more open, engaging and relaxed? And do you think that Miss Neutral is likely to respond differently to each of them? Do you think that she is likely to respond in a more open and engaging way with Mr. Sunny or Mr. Cloudy? So in this very simplistic example, you're probably starting to see how your behaviour is directly affected by your beliefs. And it is the way that we behave that will have an enormous impact on the results and outcomes that we get in life. Based on their different behaviours, Mr. Cloudy's and Mr. Sunny's meeting with Miss Neutral are likely to go in completely different directions and lead to very, very different results. The other really important point to note here is that the reaction to the men by Miss Neutral is likely to further confirm what Mr. Cloudy and Mr. Sunny already believe. The spiral continues, where someone blames someone or something external for the results they get, rather than considering that it may have been their thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and subsequent behaviour that led to the result they experienced. Since repetition is one of the ways that we learn most effectively, let me summarise what we now know. Our beliefs and thoughts influence the emotions we experience, which lead us to behave in a particular way, which ultimately determines our results and outcomes in life. I'm sure that you're starting to see how important this process is. This is nothing short of amazing. Now let us introduce the reverse engineering process. If you change your beliefs, you'll actually change the way you experience your life. Let me say that again. By changing your beliefs, you will actually have a completely new life experience. And if you're asking how, again, don't worry. We'll be getting there soon enough. But let's come to understand a little more about how beliefs actually work within our minds. So let's look at running on autopilot. There are times in our lives when we know exactly where we want to go, consciously, but then life comes along and throws something at us as a distraction. The next thing we know, we're completely off track. This is a result of our beautiful subconscious mind taking over the controls when we're distracted and switching to autopilot. Make no mistake, our autopilot is the best method of managing the trillions of functions that are occurring throughout our bodies every second. If we had to consciously manage every process that is happening in our bodies, we would collapse within moments. We do not have the mental capacity to manage our bodies consciously. That is the role of the very capable and competent brain, in particular the reptilian part of our brain, and to a lesser extent the limbic part of our brain, which govern our autonomic nervous system. Our thinking brain wants to make new knowledge or skills unconscious as soon as possible because it requires a lot less energy for the reptilian part of our brain to manage those behavioural functions. So now back to autopilot. I'm sure you will agree that the autopilot function has made flying in a jet plane a very smooth and safe event. The only challenge is when our conscious mind is not aligned with our subconscious mind. When the autopilot has been set to a particular flight path, which is different from the path the pilot consciously wants to take, then the plane will take them to a destination they don't want to go. It's like the autopilot being set for London while the pilot intends to fly to Paris. It will be a constant and very conscious struggle on the part of the pilot to get that plane to land safely and on time at Paris Charles de Gaulle International Airport. This is exactly how it is in your mind when the conscious and subconscious minds are pulling in different directions. Here's another great example. Michelle tells herself that she wants $1 million in her bank account. Don't we all? And this is definitely possible because there are lots of other people made from the same biological stuff as Michelle that have already done it. However, every time Michelle sees someone driving around in an expensive sports car, she screws up her nose and says to herself, what a pretentious jerk, and plants this little seed in her head time and time again. So over time, a subconscious mind links money to being a jerk. And because the thought of being a jerk has a negative emotion associated with it, Michelle's subconscious mind decides that having lots of money will lead to discomfort and therefore a negative outcome. So Michelle's subconscious mind will work 24/7 to ensure that Michelle doesn't become a jerk by becoming rich. The end result? Riches do not come easily or at all to Michelle. There is an incoherent signal between the conscious and subconscious mind, and therefore a lack of harmony and consistent thinking. No wonder she misses out on attaining her conscious goal. T. Harv Eker, in his excellent book Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, says one of the 17 wealth secrets of the rich is rich people admire other rich and successful people. Poor people resent rich and successful people. Therefore, if you want lots of money and great financial flow, always link money to a positive image and emotion. One of the most influential achievements we can attain in life is to finally have our subconscious beliefs aligned with our conscious desires. The day that happens is the day the abundance that exists in this universe starts to fall out of the sky and land right in your lap. This reminds me of a quote from Buddha. More than those who hate you, more than all your enemies, an undisciplined mind does greater harm. control your mind, and you open the door to the King's treasury. Dr. Bruce Lipton, author of The Biology of Belief, a book again I highly recommend, reiterates that we're running on our subconscious autopilot about 95% of the time. That means 95% of the time we're running on the programs stored in the subconscious part of our minds. That is great if the programs we're running are empowered and causing us to feel inspired, but disastrous to our health, wealth, success, and happiness if our subconscious beliefs put us into a disempowered state. Now let's look at the role of emotions. Up until this point, we've talked extensively about the thinking part of the brain, that is the cortex, and most particularly the frontal lobes. We've described beliefs as a statement or a series of words. That is definitely where it all starts, but I would be remiss not to provide you with a quick overview of the role that emotions play in this whole process. Because let's face it, life is really a series of feelings that we experience on a daily basis, which are otherwise known as emotions. The part of our brain most related to our emotions and the formation of its chemicals, which cause us to feel a particular way, is the limbic part of the brain, sometimes called the mammalian part or the midbrain. It is our emotions that actually cause us to act. Tony Robbins, a leading American success coach, likes to use the phrase emotion creates motion. I also teach my clients that emotion is the fuel that turns potential energy into kinetic energy or action. Emotions therefore play a big part in our actions and in the results we get in life. In case you're not completely clear on how emotions specifically relate to beliefs, let me explain. When we have a particular thought, it generally causes a biological response in our brains and body, and those chemicals will cause us to act. For example, if we think a fearful thought, our brain will activate the sympathetic nervous system. We'll have a sensory experience of feeling fear, and then we'll go into a fight, flight, or freeze response. If we have an empowering thought, our brain will set up a flood of positive chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, or oxytocin, which make us feel good and may cause us to continue doing what we're doing, to try a little harder, to think a little deeper, or to relax a little bit more. So our thoughts and beliefs directly impact the biology in our bodies and the feelings that we experience, and are part of what causes our bodies to act in a particular way. In my mind, Mr. Sunny walks around with his head held high, breathing deeply with a smile on his face, and feels vibrant, joyful, and happy. His deep breathing and open chest are also causing him to draw in even more oxygen, which consequently relaxes the sympathetic nervous system. Whereas Mr. Cloud is walking around with his eyes downcast, shoulders hunched, chest constricted, breathing shallowly, and with a frown taking residence on his forehead. He's also likely to be feeling unhappy, uninspired, and low on energy. To add to this conversation, perhaps offer a new perspective for you, I'd also like to explore energy so you understand its tangible influences on the results we get in life. The first fact to understand is that everything in the universe is made of energy, vibrating at different levels of frequency and therefore carrying different information. It's just like when you tune your FM radio to a different frequency, you get different information, like a completely different song. Because we are made of energy, like everything else in the universe, it is the emotions we experience and create that have the greatest impact on the energetic field around our bodies. Just like a magnet has an invisible field of energy around it, which can affect matter, like iron filings on a piece of paper held over a magnet, our bodies have a field of energy around us called a torus field, which creates a different response for the people around us based on our emotions and the frequencies they are resonating at. Our beliefs influence our emotions, which influence this field of energy around us. This in turn influences the people we meet and interact with. Elevated emotions like joy, bliss, awe, gratitude, and love create a very different field of energy than survival emotions such as fear, guilt, jealousy, attachment, and shame. Just like when some people step into the room and raise the energy of everyone in the room, other people can come into the room and suck out the energy of everyone in it. I'm sure you, like me, have experienced this phenomenon. Know that your beliefs impact your emotions, which change your energy and therefore affect people around you in subtle and unseen ways. And if you want to go even deeper, the field of energy that we create through our thoughts and emotions also affects the unified quantum field where all things are created. You draw things towards you or repel them from the quantum field based on your emotions. If you want to understand your relationship to the quantum field, I would highly recommend you follow the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, a pioneering neuroscientist who has written incredible books like You Are the Placebo and Becoming Supernatural. The last point I will make on emotions is that if we are triggered strongly enough by a specific belief, be it positive or negative, the feeling starts to take up residence in the body. It may even get to a stage where the emotion precedes the thought or belief. For example, imagine that you have a recurring thought, which is just a belief, and a feeling such as worry is linked to that thought. Then this thinking and feeling worried is played out hundreds and hundreds of times over the years. Eventually, the feeling of worry becomes the belief, and the belief automatically triggers a feeling of worry, creating a thinking, feeling, thinking loop. Have you ever had a feeling that made you wonder, where the heck did that come from? This is definitely the body running on autopilot. Great if the emotions are all of those empowering and vitalizing emotions, but not so great if the emotions are ones of fear, anxiety, or worry. Now let's look at the power of words. On one hand, we're told that sticks and stones will break our bones, but knees will never hurt us. And on the other hand, we're told the pen, or penning words, is mightier than the sword. Words do matter. Words are powerful. That is why a complex language system has meant the human race has become the governing species on the planet. A single word can change the entire direction of your life. Think about these two small words, can and can't. One opens the door to possibility and the other closes the very same door. In real-world terms, this can be the difference between someone living out their wildest dreams or going to the grave with feelings of deep regret and unrealised dreams. As a coach, I spend a lot of my time helping my clients become a lot more conscious and aware of the words they're using. There are words that open us up, the words that cause us to contract physically and emotionally. There are words that cause us to lean forward and words that cause us to step back. There are words that activate the stress response and words that activate the relaxation response. There are words that allow us to see a field of infinite possibilities, while other words cause us to see our choices as being limited to a single claustrophobic tunnel. I hear people use words like suffocating when what they're actually experiencing is confusion about what choice to make. Or someone will say they've been stabbed in the back when the reality is that a friend of theirs spoke poorly of them behind their back. Many people choose their words unwisely or carelessly and inevitably find themselves in an emotional hurricane of their own making. These hurricanes, though, can be transformed into mildly bothersome windstorms if different words are consciously chosen to describe the current reality. If we use words and statements like, I am suffocating, my friend stabbed me in the back, I am dying over here, he tore my heart out and crushed it. As interesting as these statements are to read in some drama novel or watch on the television, they're absolutely toxic and counterproductive to your happiness and well-being when you use them in your own life. News channels on television make a business out of using highly emotive language so they can create a sense of fear in you and cause you to believe you need to watch more so you are aware, in inverted commas, of all the potential dangers in your life. They know that at a primal level we are hypervigilant and pay more attention to potential threats, and they use this as a marketing strategy to get you to watch more news. I want you to make choices to do things that cause you to become more relaxed and open and more in touch with the beauty and kindness that surrounds you moment to moment when you can remain open to them. The language for me is this. The more emotional the language is you use to describe things in your life, the more elevated your emotions will be as a result. Using negative emotive words, suffocating, suffering, dying, disaster, catastrophic or worst, in a context where they're not reflective of actual reality, will unnecessarily increase the levels of stress you experience. You'll secrete high levels of stress hormones into your bloodstream and the cells in your body. The higher the levels of survival emotions and stress you experience, the harder it is for your body to come into homeostasis and return back to peace and calm, which I think we can all agree is a place we'd like to spend more of our time. Now let's look at exaggeration. I actually ban my clients from the act of exaggeration. This might seem excessive, but hear me out on this one. If you adopt this too, you'll change your emotions and therefore your daily life experience. When we exaggerate a story, we cause an exaggeration of our emotions. If I tell a woeful, exaggerated story of how bad my life is, I'll feel a lot worse than if I tell a story about what is really going on in my life. Most people think that exaggerating is a good way for people to find you more interesting or more impressive. And if you tell a really exaggerated story of how bad your life is, then people are more interested to hear your story. This can also be an unconscious habit that we've learned, where we mistake drawing attention to ourselves through drama and exaggeration for a means of feeling connected. In my experience, a person whom we might call a drama queen has associated drama and people paying attention to their drama with a feeling of establishing connection with others. It is a poor strategy to use to get the connection that we all have a deep need for. You might want to ask yourself, if you have a habit of dramatising things, what am I seeking to get from creating these dramas in my life? And is it serving me? They're powerful questions. The habit of exaggerating is one that will ultimately cause you emotional pain. And the best way to deal with a habit of this nature is not to exaggerate less, which is harder to self-regulate, but to go cold turkey and stop exaggerating altogether. Be impeccable with your words. Take this very common and simple example. Person 1 says, I have a million things that I need to get done today. Person 2 says, I have 5 essential things and 7 desirable things to get done today. Which person is likely to be more stressed out and running around like a crazy person with the mental capacities of pooch? The words people use determine what is happening within their autonomic nervous systems. The words chosen will determine what genes are being turned on and which are being turned off. The language used will determine whether the digestive and immune systems will be disrupted or repressed. The words you choose really matter. Let's look at another example. Person 1, exaggerating. I got absolutely no sleep last night. I tossed and turned all night. I did not sleep a wink. Person 1, reality. I got about 4 hours of broken sleep last night. Which story is going to have its talent all wound up? Which is going to guide them into an awareness of their need to take things a little easier, to take a break through the day, or take measures to get a better night's sleep? If you are a major or minor exaggerator, stop it now. Here's one of the most powerful tools I can offer you. And it merely is a collection of words. Words that can change the structure of your nervous system and therefore the course of your life. Here are the 4 magic words with a magic symbol at the end. What is the reality? Question mark. What is the reality? In neuro-linguistics programming, NLP terms, this would be called a pattern interrupt. You are interrupting the habitual pattern of thinking, feeling, behaving in order to create a new pattern and neural pathway in the brain. When we ask a powerful question, like what is the reality, we bring our attention, energy, blood and oxygen to the frontal cortex or frontal lobes of the brain. You also take your attention out of the limbic part of the brain, which is the emotional, reactive, survival-oriented and more primitive part of the brain. We ascend into the control tower of our brain, which is the best place to solve problems. To see the bigger picture, to get perspective, to become more aware, to make healthy, more productive choices. 4 simple words. What's the reality? Asked as a question will change the function and capability of your extremely powerful and resourceful mind. When we're overly emotional, we have limited access to our higher levels of mind. As I have already said, we are likely to be in the reactive and survival parts of our brain. I like to use the analogy that I have the thinking powers of a dog when I'm in a stressed and survival-focused state of mind and I'm operating from the limbic or mammalian part of my brain. I'm trying to use the brain of a dog to solve a problem that requires a much higher level of mind. I need to be able to access the frontal lobes of my cortex in order to see the whole picture and draw on all my knowledge and experience to see what potential consequences may look like and then to make the best choice in the moment. Stress and creativity do not hang out in the same place. So if you want to tap into the creative genius that resides within you, you need to become more masterful with the language you choose to think and speak. Words do matter. Choose them wisely. They're steering you through life. They're opening doors for you or they're closing them. Become conscious of what you are saying to yourself and others. Get curious about the stories you tell. Are your stories leading you towards glory, or are they leading you down an overgrown and mucky path? The wisest and most effective people among us have become masters of how they use their words, both internally and externally. From this day forward, notice if your words are causing you to expand or contract. Are your words empowering or disempowering you? Are they making life more easeful or more difficult? Are they making you more reactive or more calm? Are they causing you to see or get hyper-fixated on possibility or problems? The words you choose help lay the foundation and create the path for the life you experience. Chapter 6, Getting to Know the Gatekeeper. Well done for reaching this stage, where we'll set the final scene and get to know our beliefs at an even deeper level. Now that you realise where they come from, how deeply they impact your life, and that they're usually running on autopilot beneath your conscious awareness, it's time to go one level deeper before all this knowledge is brought together so that you can move forward as one of the top 5% of people on the planet who actually understand more clearly why we do what we do at a subconscious level. And we can do to put the power back in our control. Knowledge is definitely power in this case. You'll be able to live life more consciously and therefore make better decisions, which will ultimately lead to a more desirable outcome. Good for you. Let me introduce you to the final player in the alignment of our conscious and subconscious minds mini workout. It's the famous gatekeeper, or critical bypass factor as it's called in the world of hypnosis. The figurative gatekeeper guards the passageway between the conscious and subconscious parts of the mind. As I've stated previously, it is suggested that the majority of our beliefs are formed prior to our reaching about 7 years of age. At this stage in our brain's development, the gatekeeper is less active. Our ability to discern good information from poor information is underdeveloped, and therefore we pretty much let any belief or statement into our subconscious mind to be stored as a fact. The process obviously is a little bit more complex than this, but let's just keep it simple for now. Essentially, the majority of what we're told up until that age, or what we biologically experience during our time in the womb, forms a lot of our core beliefs and our map of the world. These countless beliefs are stored in metaphorical filing cabinets, i.e. neural networks might be a little bit more accurate in our limbic and lower parts of our brain. Then we gather data and information to support those beliefs, which also gets stored in our metaphoric filing cabinets. So then we have something like this: someone else's beliefs, supported by evidence we narrow-mindedly collected, stored in a part of our mind that we cannot consciously or easily observe, which causes us to feel a particular way, which drives a series of related behaviours which are most likely unconscious, that is, the behaviours. Now I realise I'm repeating myself here, but repetition is the mother of learning and the mother of mastery. There's a point I want to make just before we move on though. Even though the majority of our non-filtered beliefs are formed when we're about 7 years old or younger, we can still form powerful beliefs, empowered or disempowered, at any other stage of our life if there is a high enough level of emotional intensity. It is the level of emotional intensity we experience, also known as energy, that determines if a new belief or neural network is created in the brain and then stored in the body as a remembered emotion. This can actually happen at any time and at any stage of our life. The next diagram I'm going to talk about, and obviously you have access to the diagram, is what happens when the gatekeeper or filter or critical bypass is more developed in our later lives. The gatekeeper determines which statements, comments, or ideas we hold to be true and let into the stage of our minds, and which we will reject before they take up residence in our minds. That is, the gatekeeper determines what are the statements people make which matches our perceived personal identity based on the beliefs we've formed of ourself over the course of our lives. If this part of us decides a statement matches our perceived identity, we also feel the feelings those statements elicit in us. Positive statements generate positive feelings, and negative statements generate negative feelings. Having a very diligent gatekeeper is great if we have empowering beliefs and thus a positive self-identity which is stored in our subconscious minds. You'll see in the diagram, which I'll explain below, what happens if someone has been told while they are growing up that they are not worthy. This is essentially how we accept or reject statements or compliments after we've established our core beliefs. A part of us decides if those comments match the beliefs we hold to be true about ourselves. So in the diagram, a person has a core belief that says, I am unworthy. Maybe a parent told them on a number of occasions when they were young that they were useless, stupid, or not wanted. Given this belief and therefore the personal identity that they have accepted as truth, they will only let comments past the gatekeeper and into the recesses of their mind which support their core belief of being unworthy. They will only accept and receive negative comments because those comments are of the nature that match their internal evidence. This will then cause them to feel a certain way negatively and further reinforce their belief about themselves. Any positive comments they receive will likely be dismissed as being untrue or be met with so much doubt because it does not support the very deep and subconscious belief they have of their worth. They'll just effectively get discarded along the way. This whole distorted process further enhances a person's belief that they're unworthy and do not deserve all the good that may potentially come their way. This situation is a crying shame but exists in so many people. However, as we've already learned, these pioneering neuroscientists have told us that the mind is like putty in our hands. It can be changed and shaped into an entirely different mould. This may explain for you why someone might not be able to accept your compliments, even when they've done something that is very worthy of praise. Your positive compliment does not support their internal core belief. It does not match the identity they have created for themselves and bought into. Therefore, in their mind, the compliment must not be true. Perhaps they think you must have meant something else, or you confused them for someone else, or you are just being insincere. This might also explain any resistance that might come up for you when you receive positive feedback. Remember that awareness is the first stage to transformation evolution. As always, the opposite also holds true. If you have strong, positive and empowering beliefs, especially about yourself, embedded in your subconscious mind, you will sponge up all of the great things coming your way. This will further reinforce how great you are and will open you up to all of those amazing positive emotions. In this way, you create an expansive, positive, energetic field around yourself and light up the lives of the people around you. Your powerful, elevated energy, this high vibrational frequency, and your elevated positive emotions cause the emotions of the people around you and their energy fields to be lifted as well. This is a possibility in the person I know you're capable of being when you start to peel back the layers that are no longer serving you. When you peel away the multiple layers of disempowering beliefs, you start to let your inner radiance shine more brightly. And that is exactly what the world needs. The world needs more of the authentic, unique, and radiant version of you. Chapter 7. What are the correct beliefs? We're well and truly down the rabbit hole now. There's no turning back. The blinkers have been removed. I know you'll thank me later. Get ready for a very profound statement. A statement that will make this whole process of change, growth, and success so much easier to achieve. Here goes the famous statement. There are no right or wrong beliefs. Let me repeat that. I'm sure you got it the first time. There are no right or wrong beliefs. There are just beliefs. As I've said already, for every belief there is an equal and opposite belief. In the world of beliefs, instead of right and wrong, we have empowering and disempowering beliefs. Let's first talk about empowering beliefs and their associated state. Empowering beliefs cause you to experience elevated emotional states like confidence, calm, excitement, courage, empowerment, curiosity, connection, vibrancy, clarity, love, energy, and relaxation, to name just a few, and thus make it easier for you to experience a richer, easier, and more beautiful life. Being in an elevated emotional state also creates a greater and more coherent electromagnetic field around your body. You become a magnetic attractor field for people. People are drawn to you because you make them feel good. Think about people that you know that give off a good vibe. That is what your empowered beliefs have the ability to create in your life. I personally feel that when we're experiencing all of these positive emotions, we are more connected to who and what we are at our core. We're living more in alignment with our true self and letting more of our essential nature shine and radiate from our very being. Now let's talk about disempowering beliefs and their associated state. On the other hand, disempowering beliefs can make you feel fearful, disconnected, restricted, limited, guilty, anxious, lost, uncertain, tense, tired, stressed, flat, ashamed, and consequently make it more challenging for you to experience a truly amazing and successful life. Essentially, the body goes into a mild to major stress response in the presence of these feelings and emotions. You might experience any or all of the following: elevated heart rate, sweaty palms, suppressed immune system, disrupted digestion, narrow focus or tunnel vision, more emotionally reactive, limited access to creative solutions. And if we go a little deeper still, we find that when we go into a stress response, we are contracting. At an energetic level, we go into survival mode and actually draw energy from the electromagnetic field around us. The field around us starts to get smaller. You might think this sounds a little too la-la or new agey, but have you ever experienced a person in your life that sucked energy out of a room when they walked in, or sucked energy from you when you interacted with them? I know that I have. These people are in survival mode, potentially because of their beliefs and worldviews, and they are definitely the opposite of empowered. The other thing I've witnessed with many clients is when someone goes into a disempowered state through a disempowering set of beliefs, they lose access to their higher mental faculties. This is most likely due to limited blood flow and oxygen flow to the neocortex region of the brain, that is the upper brain. Instead, they become entrapped in the emotional part of the brain, making them more emotionally reactive as opposed to intelligently creative. As I said before, when someone goes into survival mode or a reactive stress response, they're more centered in the limbic part of the brain, that is the mammalian part of the brain, and they effectively have the intellectual capabilities of a dog. Now, as beautiful as dogs are, they have not created any Eiffel Towers, Sistine Chapels, Hagia Sophias, Sydney Opera Houses, or Empire State Buildings. Neither have they built companies like Airbnb, Facebook, or Apple. As I said before, your creative juices do not flow when you're in a stressed state. When we're experiencing negative emotions, we are closed off from our greatness, our authenticity, and who we are truly capable of being. It was Henry Ford that said, if you believe you can or believe you can't, you are correct. You make into being whatever you believe to be true. So what beliefs are correct beliefs? The simple answer to that question is the beliefs that empower you. When you feel empowered, you are likely to be standing or sitting tall. Your shoulders are likely to be relaxed and settled back. You're probably breathing more fully and with your diaphragm. Your muscles are relaxed, which promotes greater blood flow through your body and to your brain. That extra blood flow, nutrients and energy carried into your brain, in particular your frontal lobes, actually makes you smarter and better equipped to make creative and intelligent choices that lead to the best results. Additionally, when you're positively emotionally charged, you're more likely to be action-oriented. As you already know, emotion creates motion. I want to reiterate this very important point. There are no specific beliefs that are right or wrong. They're just beliefs that empower you in any given situations, and those beliefs that disempower you. They're also beliefs that may have been useful to have as a teenager, but no longer serve you years later when you're raising a family of 3 children. Some beliefs are great when dealing with a child, but not so empowering or effective when dealing with a multi-million-dollar deal. There are definitely different beliefs that are best suited to each unique situation and context. This is where conscious awareness comes into the picture. The more consciously aware you are, or the greater your ability to bring conscious awareness into the present moment, the greater your capacity will be to choose the most empowering belief for the situation at hand. To enhance your level of conscious awareness, I recommend practices like yoga, pranayama, meditation, mindfulness, qigong, tai chi, and others that enhance your sense of connection between you and your body, mind, and emotions, as well as between your awareness and the present moment. In the Guidebook to Optimum Health, I give specific details on ways to increase our level of consciousness. So you might want to check that out. Let's talk about upgrading beliefs. To bring this point home, let's look at another practical example. Have a look at the following beliefs, which I'll read to you, which relate to work and money. Which belief do you think would enhance the quality of your life the most? Belief 1. I have to work hard for my money. Belief 2, some of the time money comes easily. Belief 3, money always comes to me easily. Which do you think would probably make your life the easiest? And I've purposely used a very emotive example here to challenge your beliefs right now about work and money. What does your belief sound like? Also, by using a very sensitive subject like money, I can show you clearly that our beliefs are a major driving force in our behaviour and a critical determining factor in the outcomes we experience. If you don't have the money you want, perhaps your beliefs around money are holding you back. Now, I'm just saying. Once more, I invite you to join Mr. Cloudy and Mr. Sunny as they demonstrate the exciting world of beliefs in relation to the highly emotive subject of money. Let's look at Mr. Cloudy first. So parent says to Cloudy Jr., you have to work hard to make money. This statement is accepted and becomes a belief. Cloudy Jr. notices all of the people that work really hard to make money, and now it becomes a fact. You have to work hard to make money. This means that Mr. Cloudy becomes tight with their money, scared of opportunities, doesn't take any risks, plus works really hard. And the outcome is that they live a hard life and believe that the only way to make money is working hard. Now let's look at Mr. Sunny. Parent says to Sunny Jr., money is easy to come by. The statement is accepted and becomes a belief. Sunny Jr. notices all of the people that make money easily and attract more dollars into their life. Now it becomes a fact. Money is easy to come by. So Mr. Sunny then becomes generous with their money, open to opportunities, takes more risk and gets higher returns. And Mr. Sunny goes on to live a prosperous life and believes that making money is easy. I want to highlight one more thing in the example that I just went through. If you look at the third box for Mr. Sonny, it says, Sonny Jr. notices all of the people that make money easily and attract more dollars. As Sonny Jr. is paying attention to all of those people making money, he's causing a few other things to happen. For instance, as well as building up his belief, he is actually learning how to make money by watching people that are already making money. What he places his focus and attention on is actually gathering momentum at the same time that his belief is strengthening. Chapter 8. Now we get to the really good news. Here is the good news. Compliments of Mr. S. Claus, more affectionately known by me as the big fat guy in the red suit that delivers millions of presents on the night before Christmas. For those of you with a different cultural heritage, feel free to add in an appropriate substitute. Once upon a time, you, like me, actually believed that Santa drank the milk that you left out. But then one day, as a result of learning about multiplication at school, you calculated that if you'd actually consumed several million cups of milk in one night, he would be a hell of a lot fatter than you tend to picture him. And his cholesterol would be through the roof. He would not only be unable to come down the elusive chimney, but it would be too big to get through the garage door. So this epiphany may have led you as a young child to question whether he did actually drink the milk. And if he didn't drink it, then who did? Something about this was just not right. Large cracks in the whole Santa Claus story started to appear. Your young mind would eventually be thinking that perhaps this whole Santa thing might be fictitious, which would certainly explain the additional number of presents for sale in the shops leading up to Christmas Day. The process for changing this belief was, first there is doubt, then there is confusion, and from a new lens of perception and possibly new knowledge, a new belief is formed. So the outstanding news is that you can actually change your beliefs. You've done it before and you can do it again. I bet you're breathing a sigh of relief on hearing that news. You may have been worried for a while that you were destined to live out your life in accordance with everything that was ever said to you by some well-meaning and equally confused people during the early stages of your life. The other point I want to reiterate that, as you can see from above, it can actually be a good thing to be confused. The brain is trying to figure something out that does not stand up to scrutiny. When examined and determined to be inconsistent, the old belief and associated neural network is disrupted, which allows the formation of a new set of beliefs and a new neural pathway to be created within your mind. New beliefs equals new results. Chapter 9, putting it all together. First of all, you made it through a pretty deep overview of beliefs, a lot of strategic repetition, and now you realise unequivocally how your beliefs are actually shaping the life you live. So please take the time to give yourself a very big pat on the back and know that you are now one of the elite. You are part of the 5% of the world's population who knows that their beliefs have a much more significant impact on their results, that their beliefs actually have more impact on their results than any external circumstances they will encounter. You now know that success is most often an internal game of awareness, curiosity, and openness to change, and now you're well equipped with the knowledge you need to play that internal game more effectively. Let me reiterate what I've observed hundreds of times with my clients. It is much easier to change your internal world than it is to move all of the parts in your external world that are not in harmony with you. Instead of shifting your boss, country, or partner, or needing to change the government, the economy, or any other moving parts, it might be that changing your lens of perception, that is your beliefs, will change how you see and relate to the external world. It turns out that it's much easier to change the world from the inside out, as the illuminated teachers all through history have shown and taught to those ready to listen. Let's summarise the main points you've learned so far. 1. You picked up many of your core beliefs prior to reaching 7 years of age and older if significant events happened when you were emotionally triggered. 2. Beliefs are not universal laws. They are not facts and don't even necessarily contain truth. 3. Most beliefs are operating below your conscious awareness, much like an aeroplane on autopilot. 4. Beliefs cause you to feel and act in a certain way, which in turn influences the results you get in any given situation. 5. If we change our beliefs, we can change our results. 6. There are no right or wrong beliefs, only those that empower or disempower us. 7. We can change and upgrade beliefs that do not serve us. Therefore, it all comes back to the idea that the most powerful and effective thing we can do in our lives in order to get more desirable results is to change our beliefs. More specifically, we can change and revise the beliefs that are disempowering us. We don't just want to remove disempowering beliefs, we want to replace them with something a lot more empowering. And we don't just want to have new intellectually empowering beliefs, we want to infuse them into our mind and body. We want them to truly become a part of us, so we think and feel the empowering beliefs unconsciously. It all starts with our recognition of what beliefs we have and what beliefs we would like to have. As I said previously, wisdom allows us the opportunity to make better choices. We want to become more conscious of what we want, what is holding us back, and what greatness we are capable of. From there, we can pinpoint the types of thoughts, feelings, and actions that will support us in creating our desired results. Now, the diagram I'll speak through shortly shows how we can do just that. The diagram essentially shows that we choose an empowering thought, we choose an empowering belief, we choose an empowering emotion, and this leads us to practice conscious actions, which creates a new desired result. We've seen that changing our beliefs is something that we've done in the past and will do again repeatedly. I suggest that there are no right and wrong beliefs. There are only those that either empower or disempower us. There are also beliefs that may be fitting for one situation, but not well suited or productive in another. It could be said that the happiest people on the planet are those who can choose the right beliefs for any given situation. They are those most comfortable with change and with letting go of beliefs as soon as they discover they no longer serve or have become obsolete due to new information becoming available. This is the art of evolution, shedding or outgrowing whatever no longer serves you. So now you have it. The blinkers are not only off, but they're in the recycle bin. And to ensure that you take away all the key points, I've included a detailed executive summary at the end of the book. If you felt any discomfort or resistance as you were reading this, it could be that you're subconsciously struggling with the big idea that your experiences and results are actually the result of your beliefs. I'm quite confident when I suggest there are some beliefs you currently hold which are actually creating some of your current challenges or obstacles. Chapter 10, the specifics of how to change your beliefs. We talked about identity before when we looked at the gatekeeper. How we associate with our personal identity is one of the most impactful understandings we can benefit from. We gain great power when we realise that what we do is not who we are. Just because I do something stupid does not mean I am stupid. There is an important distinction between me and the thing I did. This is a powerful tool I use when coaching clients. I have them realise that they are not a worrier. They do the action of worrying. They are not a perfectionist. They do perfectionism. They're not an anxious person. They do things that cause them to experience anxiety. This is liberating. This means that none of the typical titles with which we associate or ways we choose to identify are part of us, but rather things that we do or behaviours that we exhibit. Even if I have a pattern or habit of doing something in a particular way, if I choose to do it in a different way, then I'll have a new experience. If instead of walking with a physiology of defeat or the world is on my shoulders, I walk with my shoulders back, chest open, eyes up, and breathing deeply, I will change the emotions I'm feeling. I'm creating a new habit of doing. As you might realize, I'm less concerned with your empowering beliefs as they're already serving you well. What I want to help you with is removing the key disempowering beliefs that you've picked up over the course of your life. Know that because you have held on to these disempowering beliefs for years or perhaps decades, they will not just disappear magically overnight. A neuroscientist would say that neurons that fire together wire together. This means that if you've been firing off these disempowering beliefs for years, there is a well-established path to that old way of thinking. The old belief is the equivalent of a superhighway, so it needs a major disruption and a high level of conscious awareness to change. Essentially, the process will involve persistence, commitment, diligence, heightened awareness, curiosity, and energy. And since it is a great help to get external perspective and assistance, I'll recommend some options before we finish. As I said in my book, The Guidebook to Happiness, people can definitely become happier all by themselves, but having a guide and external perspective definitely speeds up the process and allows you to bypass many of the obstacles. Also, when we're dealing with deeply buried subconscious beliefs, we're often unaware of the things we are telling ourselves, which can cause the biggest challenges in our lives. So getting external perspective and help is definitely a plus. One of my major roles as a coach is to challenge my clients' statements, stories, and beliefs, which in 95% of cases they are completely unaware of. A client of mine unconsciously made the statement, "I perform best under stress," because that is the story they always tell. But what this person is actually saying through this statement is that in order for them to perform at their best, they must be stressed. They are buying into the statement that unless they are stressed, they will not perform well. That for certain was not setting them up to have an easeful life. The opposite belief we worked on was this: I thrive when I'm serene. If you had a choice of stressed or serene, which would you go for? Remember, there are emotions which are supportive of creativity, like serenity, and others, which are counterproductive to creativity, like stress. Here's a very general overview of the basic steps to changing a limiting or disempowering belief. 1. Become aware while looking through the lens of curiosity, not judgment, of the major limiting or disempowering beliefs you have. They generally exist in those areas where you're experiencing the greatest pain, challenge, or disharmony in your life. I strongly recommend you do the beliefs workout that I'm going to provide guidance for with this book. 2, get really familiar with when and how each disempowering belief shows up. What triggers it? What time of day does it happen? During what activities or setting is it likely to show itself? How does it show itself? How does it look and feel in your body? What reaction does it create? You want to become so familiar with it that it will never slip past you again. This will be important information for the 7th step. 3, determine the opposite empowering belief that corresponds with each disempowering belief. These new statements will be like an antidote. It is often beneficial to choose statements that are simply the opposite of the beliefs you want to replace. For example, I'm unworthy becomes I am worthy. However, the aim is to choose something that creates the emotion you wish to feel. 4, create a new neural pathway in your mind by repeating the empowered belief as a mantra and saying it repeatedly each day. By doing this, you begin to establish a new neural circuit in your mind related to the new belief. Number 5, this is essential. To turn up the effectiveness of the new belief statement you've created, connect as powerfully as you possibly can with the feelings you want to experience when you imagine yourself living out your new empowering belief. Tapping into the appropriate emotion creates a physical and chemical link to your belief, making your belief statement not only an intellectual statement, but also a feeling that is experienced within your body. The greater the level of emotional engagement and intensity, the more quickly the new belief will take hold. So when you speak your empowered belief aloud or internally, connect deeply with the emotions it causes you to feel, as well as to those that you desire to feel. 6. Act as if the new empowering belief is true. Try it on for size at a behavioural level. Remember, our behaviour changes our results. Imagine that you are a famous actor rehearsing for a big part in a movie where you'll be paid $5 million. In order to get paid, you really need to become the character so much that people actually believe you are that character and not your real self. That actor will work their butt off, rehearsing countless times to perfect their performance. In the same way, you need to become the person you want to be, the person with this new empowering belief. Eventually, it will start to become more natural for you and require less conscious effort. This level of integration is called unconscious competence. Number 7, become super sensitive and watch yourself, ready to catch yourself if you start to sense that you're acting in a way that aligns with your old disempowering belief. If and when this does happen, now it's likely that it will happen from time to time, especially in the beginning, say the word change aloud. You might also physically shake out your body to create an even greater disruption of the old pattern. Then state your new empowering belief with the associated emotions of the new belief. Make the feelings as powerful as possible. Physically stand how you would stand if you were empowered and infused with vitality, joy, love, and awe for existence. And then act in the new way. Continue to do this every time the old belief recurs. Repetition and persistence are the keys. Now let's look at using a neuro-linguistics programming or an NLP technique. Changing disempowering beliefs, while possible, is not necessarily easy. Sometimes it takes a major emotional jolt to create a new way of thinking. That is why if someone experiences a highly emotional experience, he or she can change their beliefs in a moment. I knew a teacher who had a smoking buddy for decades, and both of them had tried to stop smoking a number of times and never succeeded. They came up with the belief that they could not stop smoking. Then one of them passed away from cancer, and the next day the other stopped smoking. The trauma, the emotional trauma of losing their close friend created an emotional intensity great enough to overcome the belief and behaviour that said, I cannot stop smoking. Obviously, I do not want you to need a traumatic event to change the beliefs that are holding you back. One of the ways to work on changing a belief is to do an NLP technique called the rocking chair technique or the Dickens pattern. There are also other NLP techniques that a qualified NLP practitioner can use with you. I've also created an online program called Process Your Limiting Beliefs, which will take you through the rocking chair technique and guide you through the information contained in this book so you really digest and absorb it. You can find out more details if you go to my website, www.carmassey.com/training events. You'll see that when you go to the website. The next one I'll mention is hypnotherapy. A skilled hypnotherapist can also assist in changing disempowering beliefs by working with them at a subconscious level. Through hypnosis, a therapist can guide you into an induced alpha or theta brainwave state in which you can bypass the gatekeeper, that critical mind, to access and change the programs in the filing cabinets of the subconscious mind. There's also guided meditations. There are some high-quality guided meditations that help bring you into an altered state of consciousness, into those alpha and theta brainwave states, before planting empowered beliefs into your subconscious mind. I recommend the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza and his book, You Are the Placebo, as a great entry point into understanding how our thoughts affect us at a physiological level. He also has meditation programs and workshops to support his work and teachings. I've personally attended a number of the workshops and witnessed amazing results for myself and others. so I highly recommend his teachings and products. I just want to mention past traumatic experiences. If you've experienced a major traumatic event in your past, I recommend finding and personally working with a qualified professional, such as a medical practitioner or clinical psychologist who specialises in processing trauma. Working with beliefs can be highly impactful, but if you're dealing with a major past trauma, it might be best to work with the right therapist one-on-one rather than trying to do it on your own. A lot of the principles remain the same, but having direct support is best if you're working through something trauma-related. Chapter 11, the conclusion. I hope you now realise that beliefs lay the foundation for everything that is yet to come. Working on changing our beliefs is actually the first piece of my coaching program called the 30-Day Challenge, and a really big component of my Life Masterclass workshops and the online workshops, because beliefs are a critical factor in shaping and determining the life you live. I know that the three biggest keys to changing your course and results in life are: 1, setting clear and inspiring goals; 2, removing disempowering beliefs; and 3, consciously integrating empowered practices, habits, and activities into your daily life. The amount of energy that is liberated when you remove a key disempowering belief is absolutely phenomenal. We never realise how much so until we actually do it. So I strongly encourage you to keep progressing along the path to identifying, removing, and replacing those beliefs that do not serve you. But do it with curiosity and love as opposed to judgment, guilt, and shame. This will make the process more impactful and more transformational. The idea that we change our experience, that is our whole life, by changing our beliefs seems strange to start with, but when you dig deeper, you come to understand just how true this is. And we have numerous beliefs around every subject we have ever had contact with. So there will always be work for us to do as we continue to examine and peel back the layers. Realising that a belief is neither true nor false, but rather empowering or disempowering, is again a revelation that can change your life's outcomes and achievements. So anytime you don't like your experience or the results you are consistently getting, take a mental step back and curiously look to see what belief may have landed you there in the first place. Where there is disharmony in your life, there is a very good chance that a corresponding limiting belief exists that is creating that disharmony. In the majority of cases, my guess is about 96.3721% of the time, it is a belief, not a real obstacle, which is causing the emotional issues and undesired results for you. Get curious. Ask yourself, what am I believing or telling myself that is causing me to feel this way or have this experience? So where to from here? We've now closely explored the theory of beliefs, and I'm sure you have come to realise that as beliefs have been made, so too can they be unmade and new beliefs formed. So now that you know why and what to change, it's time to start working on the how to change. And as I said before, you now understand more than 95% of the population when it comes to understanding why you might get the results you do. So you're in the perfect position to start the next step. That is replacing a disempowering belief. The challenge is that some of the beliefs we carry have been playing on a loop recording inside our heads for most of our lives. So they're going to take persistence, repetition, conscious focus to let go of and replace with their opposite empowering beliefs. So perform the 7-step process we've discussed. Become aware of the beliefs that may be repeatedly playing out in your mind and causing you to experience challenges or obstacles, and then determine what the empowering opposite of those beliefs would be. To further support yourself in this process, complete the beliefs workout exercise that I'll provide you. Then go to work on making that new you. Conduct those rehearsals like that $1 million movie star. Be the superstar in your own life and get the results you've always wanted. Now, as I've already said, in the 30-day challenge, which I created very intentionally and strategically, I'll guide you through the belief switch process and share with you a powerful NLP technique to help accelerate the change. Alternatively, you can do the Process Your Limiting Beliefs workshops. I do them live as well as I have an online version, which is a shorter program specifically designed to focus on changing a core disempowering belief. So you know where to go for support. I would love to give you a helping hand on your way to becoming your best self. I'm a big believer in the idea that success is not a one-person show. You do not have to try and do it all by yourself. If you want some help, you have only to ask. In physics, the resultant energy from an experiment is directly proportional to the amount of energy that was added in the first place. More energy in equals more energy out. The same applies here. The more energy you put into making these changes, the more you play full throttle, the greater results and changes you'll make. I look forward to seeing more of you as you trade out those disempowering beliefs for their empowering and life-changing opposites. All the very best to you, and here's to making this day, week, month and year the best ever as you consciously and creatively design a life that is truly worthy of you and the gifts that you uniquely bring to this beautiful planet. The executive summary. 1. You observe many of your core beliefs prior to reaching 7 years of age. This is because your brain was still developing and it was in an altered brainwave state, delta, theta, or alpha. This means you took in almost all information as literal facts without the capacity of discernment. You can also develop core beliefs after the age of 7 if you're in an altered state of consciousness or in a deeply emotional state when something occurs. 2. You have collected and inherited beliefs from those closest to you who, like everyone, are imperfect humans capable of flaw and fallacy. Some or many of those beliefs may not be empowering you. 3. As these beliefs started to manifest into your actions and behaviours, you also started collecting evidence to confirm their truth and accuracy. You did this likely subconsciously to feel the love, affection, and connection of those people from whom you received them. You searched high and low until you found, noticed, or attracted evidence to support what you set out to prove. 4. Beliefs shape your thoughts and thinking patterns, which then generate emotions. These emotions cause you to behave in particular ways. Emotion creates motion. Your beliefs also create your internal map of the world. 5. It is your behaviour that determines your results. An event plus your response, or your behaviour, equals the final outcome. 6. If just one human being can prove that the opposite of your belief is also possible, then your belief is not a law or fact, but rather something that you have chosen consciously or subconsciously to make into a reality. Therefore, it's not universally true, and the opposite may also be true. 7. There are no right or wrong beliefs. There are only beliefs that are empowering or disempowering. Empowering beliefs lead you towards joy, happiness, growth, fulfillment, and expansion. Disempowering beliefs have a tendency to activate the stress response, also known as the fight, flight, or freeze response, which leads us into anxiety, fear, and overreactive, negative internal dialogue. 8. Your subconscious mind is your inbuilt autopilot. Most of your inner conflict arises when your conscious mind and subconscious mind are not aligned. Anytime you consciously or unconsciously drop out of present time consciousness, your brain switches to your subconscious autopilot, which is driven by your subconscious core beliefs. 9. There is a gatekeeper or critical bypass that determines what information you will accept or reject. The gatekeeper filters incoming information by checking it against the beliefs that are already stored in your subconscious mind. It will generally only let in information that is supported by existing beliefs and is in alignment with the personal identity you've created for yourself. 10. You can change your beliefs. You've done so many times throughout your life already. The first step to evolution is to identify what beliefs are limiting your growth, happiness, and success. So I'm about to read the extract I have in the book on the Carl Massey story. So here goes. From ratbag, which is Australian slang for troublemaker, to, well, something else. Here we go. Now, my story is not one that is all that different from those of many of you out there reading this or hearing this. I didn't grow up in an abusive family. I wasn't abandoned as a child, and my parents are still married. I had what one may consider a pretty normal upbringing. What normal means, in inverted commas. But like 99.9% of the other people on this planet, I got to a point in my life where I was not entirely comfortable in my own skin or clear on where my life was headed. I didn't know who or what I was, and I sure as heck had no conscious idea of what I wanted to be when I grew up. I just followed a path that was laid out before me and was following diligently along, with the odd tantrum along the way, but I never really had my heart in it. I was dissatisfied. Upon completing my high school studies in 1986, I was accepted into the Australian Defence Force Academy as an officer cadet. For me, it was the easy choice, since the Defence Force would provide me with everything I needed: an education, friends, accommodation, meals, clothes, and pocket money. The other thing the Defence Force provided was very cheap alcohol, which, believe me, is a huge challenge for any 17-year-old trying to find their place in the world and earn the respect and adoration of their friends. So enter stage left, the class clown, or probably more accurately, the village idiot. Over the next 9 years in the army, I had various highs and lows, successes and stuff-ups, and earned a small reputation as a party boy and smartass. Drinking with the boys and being loud and obnoxious was the way that I chose to fit in and earn respect. Never really understood that the actual respect was pretty hollow outside of the guys who knew me below the surface. Then in 1996, as a means of finally dealing with a particularly emotional breakup, I chose a new path and took a 1-year break from the army to travel the world. I actually had to earn money for myself, provide for myself, and be responsible for myself. I also learned to think for myself. It's a pretty important life skill. I realised that a lot of the beliefs I held were not mine, but belonged to the institution, which was now thousands of miles away. I realised that I didn't care if someone was gay or was male with 2 earrings and had long hair, or didn't vote or smoked dope or didn't have a proper job. The more I came to accept myself, the more I started to value people for being people. I felt like I was finally heading in the right direction. But of course, there's always plenty more to learn. I returned to the army after that year off, since I'd made it my safety blanket and crutch, and I was programmed subconsciously to believe I needed to belong to a hierarchical institution where I did not make the final decisions and where I could follow the group. I was back where I'd left off, but now I truly felt an inner conflict between what I was conditioned to do and what I desired to do on a higher level. And the best way I knew how to push in a conflict and a sense of feeling lost aside was to get social, get drunk, and to concentrate on having a damn good time. But life is a funny way of making sure that you don't sell out on your dreams and ultimate growth. It drops you on your face, but then offers you a hand up when you most need it. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. The teacher for me came at 2 a.m. early on a Sunday morning after a couple of huge days of drinking, sleeping, drinking some more, and then sleeping off the inevitable mind-crushing hangover. And the call came via a direct and thought-provoking infomercial. It was strange, as I rarely watched television and I never put the television on in the middle of the night. But here I was, being guided by something bigger than me. So here was this big-headed, fast-talking, big-grinning guy called Anthony Robbins with his transformational offerings. Something he said must have struck a chord with me, since the next thing I knew, I had my credit card out and was placing an order. Now, our teachers can come in many forms, and since then I've had a lot of other amazing teachers, but it is initially about someone piercing your ego. And Tony Robbins at the time was the right sized man, about 6'7" and more than a foot higher than I was ever going to stand. So Easter 1999 marked an event that was not only my 30-day transformation, I proceeded to set an entirely new course for my life. By the end of the month, I'd changed my diet to principally vegetarian, stopped drinking, started yoga, and most incredibly, I changed from being unlucky to being lucky. My life had taken on a whole new flow. That humble beginning was over 2 decades ago, and since then I've consulted, lived and travelled all over the world, but it took a point of feeling extremely dissatisfied, directionless and disconnected, and definitely exceeding my pain threshold before I felt the motivation and commitment to break out of the mould and reach for something better, something that I could not quite define or articulate. I just knew that better was out there. I did not get all of the answers over that 30-day period, but it certainly opened up a door and put me on a more inspired path. It encouraged me to seek out knowledge through travels, diverse and exploratory literature, various courses and retreats, extended periods of self-imposed abstinence. And I've got inverted commas there, a very interesting experience, but best done in a mountain cave and not while you are living in downtown Athens as they prepare for the 2004 Olympic Games. And obviously there was a whole lot of inner questioning going on as well. One of the greatest keys that I discovered was in 2007 when I finally realised that my passion driving force is and has been since I can remember. My passion has always been to make people smile and laugh. Whether I was playing the clown as a child, doing death-defying stunts with my friends, playing silly games when I was drinking, or considering tap dancing when I was 13 years old, all I've ever wanted to do is make people forget about their worries and make them laugh. And I believe that when we find our individual passion and life gift and express it fully, we make our lives more worthy and positively impact all those people around us. We also tap into something much greater than ourselves, something that wants us to align with our passion so that we can make the world a better place through our joy and the joy of others. Abraham Maslow put it very nicely when he said, if you deliberately plan on being less than you're capable of being, then I warn you that you'll be unhappy for the rest of your life. In the end, I could do the army thing if I concentrated on it, if I followed the bouncing ball, but it was not what I was at my core, and it was the reason that I felt so liberated when I finally left. At my core, I'm more expressive, more impromptu, more forgiving, and lighter of spirit than I could ever be in the army. In the end, I found that I'd been trying to fit a round peg into a square hole for almost 15 years. Then in April 2010, I had another epiphany, which did not require long periods of celibacy in a mountain cave. I decided to focus everything I'd learned over the last 10 plus years into another month of the very best techniques and practices I knew. Would be intensely focused over 30 days and do every great practice I'd ever read, heard about, or experienced to see what the cumulative effect was. It included the best nutrition, exercise, daily rituals, mind exercises, visualization, journaling, consciousness activities, infusion of personal growth material, and more. In that 30 days, I experienced breakthrough after breakthrough, and I knew I wanted other people to experience the same increase in happiness, consciousness, energy, and results as I had. Thus was born the 30-day challenge. The next dream I had was to share as much of my knowledge and insights with as many people as possible. So after a great deal of two-finger typing and to and fro from my editor, the guidebook to happiness hit the Amazon stands on 1 December 2012. It was closely followed by Become an Elite Goal Setter a few days later. I was on a roll with this thing called the Guidebook series, so in 2014, I released the second book in the series called the Guidebook to Optimum Health, and then my third published book called the Guidebook to Authentic Success in 2017. In 2016, I also became one of 3 very proud owners of the practice Yoga Centre in Bali when we opened our doors on the 1st of February 2016. The practice has a great international reputation of teaching traditional tantric hatha yoga based on the original teachings of yoga and drawing on incredible wisdom and tradition to help people evolve into their greatest selves. The journey was amazing. We all learned and grew with the students that walked through the doors. The practice is also one of the most beautiful and peaceful yoga studios I've ever encountered. If you're ever in Bali, make sure you check it out. Then in 2019, as I put the final touches on this small book, I realised I was ready for another shift in my own evolution. It was time to leave the team at the practice and start my own company in Bali, specialising in coaching and event management. It was time to expand, to take my teachings to a broader audience and to share in the greatest way possible what I've learned on my 20-year journey into personal growth and transformation. I've had many great teachers in the right places and at the right times, and now I'd like to offer myself as one of your many teachers on your path to your best self. If you learned even just one thing from me that will help you on your own life's path, then I've succeeded in passing on what was passed to me, and together we keep that energy and gift alive. I wish you all the very best with finding your own special path, or as Carlos Castaneda calls it, the path with heart. Take care. Recommended resources. For great resources and freebies, as well as highly practical tips, tools and strategies to help you on your onwards and upwards journey, please check out more from me at www.carlmassey.com. Now let me just go through some of the things that I think might be of value for you. I talked about the workshop Process Your Limiting Beliefs. This is a powerful either live or online workshop which goes half a day if it's a live workshop. Obviously you can self-pace with the online version. And it's purposely designed to get you to the stage where you're very clear about your core limiting belief, and then I take you through that powerful NLP technique to help you shift and change it. And it's a powerful process, and again, there's been incredible results over time as I've taken people, numerous people, hundreds of people through that particular technique. So again, just go to the website, carlmassey.com, training and events, and you'll find the links there. The next one is the Life Masterclass, and this is a 3-day workshop for me where we go through processing beliefs. There's a number of different techniques that I use as well as the one that I have in the beliefs workshop. I add additional techniques as well. So it's a powerful workshop. Currently do it live, mostly in Bali, but doing it overseas as well. So it's a workshop that you may want to check out. The other one is the 30-day challenge. I mentioned it briefly in the book. And it's an online coaching program where I actually coach someone through a 30-day program, weekly coaching sessions, daily rituals, listening to daily podcasts, daily activities. It's a powerful program to create lasting change. So again, if you want to find out any details about that, carlmassey.com. In that training and events, you'll see the 30-day challenge there. Obviously, I've written a number of other books. The books in the guidebook series, the guidebook to happiness, the guidebook to optimum health, and the guidebook to authentic success.